Hello there, Maverick Traders. This is Rob Reinhold. It is July 3rd. Let's go ahead and talk about what happened today in the markets. In this session, we're going to go over the news. We're going to take a look at the current market analysis, and we're going to score everything from +3 to -3, and then we're going to look at the strongest and the weakest currencies, pair them up, and look for trading setups.
Disclaimer. This video was created for professional Forex and crypto traders. Maverick Currencies is a proprietary trading firm that employs professional traders around the world. Our traders trade firm capital and keep 70 to 80% of profits they generate. All trades and analysis in this video are for professional traders only. If you are interested in becoming a professional Forex and currency trader for Maverick, click the apply button in the video description. Let's break down what happened today.
Let's go ahead and start off with the news of the day. We got some economic data out of the US. We got a very weak ADP report, and we got a very weak ISM services report. I want to spend a little bit of time on this ISM services report because this was a major miss. The estimates were 52.5 and we came in at 48.8. Now the way the ISM works, anything over 50 means growth, anything under 50 means contraction. Services is 2/3 of the US economy, so when this number has now slipped below 50, this gives a green light to the Fed to cut rates and probably more aggressive than the market was anticipating. And personally, I think the Fed's going to cut rates in the July meeting. The market doesn't believe that, but I just think that it's there, and I think they're going to want to do it sooner than later so they don't look political going into the elections in November. We also just had a half day for U.S. equities, so everything wound down a little bit early today. Now, if we take a look at the numbers, I do have to admit, I did not think that this was going to be a very good trading week. It's turned out to be a decent trading week. Not great, but it's been a decent trading week. And we have liked the yen short, and you can see the yen just keeps falling and falling down 0.5%. And we like the Aussie long, and the Aussie has been a good currency this week. So Aussie yen has been the trade of the week. I've hit it once. It's been a decent trade. Everything else is pretty mixed as far as, plus or minus just a little bit. If we go and take a look at the rest of the markets, the S&P was up 0.5% today. The world index even more. Gold up, oil up. But you can see crypto got absolutely hammered. I really want to spend some time in this video going into the crypto markets and showing you what's going on. It does not look pretty. When we look at the cryptos individually, they were all down 3 to 4% across the board. Really no relative strength or weakness anywhere that you can see in crypto, just weakness across the board. Now, if we take a look at the equity market, you can see that this is a really nice clear breakout. This is a great breakout. We opened at our lows, closed at our highs. Everything looks really good for the markets looking like they're going higher. I already know I'm going to get some people say, but Rob, what about the volume? There was a breakout on low volume. That means that it's not really a breakout. Look, I've been trading for 27 years. And yes, sometimes when there's a breakout with low volume, it fails. But you know what else I've seen over my 27 years? Thousands of breakouts that happened on low volume that kept going. Now look, you have eyes. You can see this pattern. You know that when this happens, most of the time we have higher prices. Yes, every now and then they'll fail. The volume was low. It was a half day. And if you take a look at a half day of volume, actually that's pretty decent volume for a half day in the market. Don't ignore what your eyes are seeing in a high base breakout and tell yourself, oh, it's not going to go or it's not real because of this volume. Guess what? You got to believe what you see. It's right there. It's telling you this market is clearly a risk-on market. I want to take a look over the next 24 hours specifically because I think it's very important to understand where we are right now in the week. We have a U.S. holiday tomorrow, so all the equity markets, bond markets, everything's going to be closed in the United States all the way until really Friday morning. Expect there to be low volatility, low activity. That's just what we typically see during these periods of time. If we take a look at what is on the schedule, we see that we have the CPI coming out of Swiss franc. I think this is a tradable event, and I do like the Swiss franc on the short side. We'll take a look at this in just a second. And then we also have elections in the UK. Now, we may not know the election results till a little bit later, and if it is a big upset, meaning not expected, you might get a move. But elections are pretty good at predicting what happens. Yes, I know we always get some surprises, like when we got the surprise of Brexit, we got the surprise of Trump winning, but most of the time elections are pretty well called for in advance, and it comes in how they expect. I am really focused on this Swiss franc for the CPI going into this session. Friday, you're going to see a big surge in activity. So we have this low volatility period with not a lot going on and really just one major news event. And then we've got Friday morning with just a ton of news events. So if you want to take the next 24 hours off, I think that's a great idea. If not, I think Swiss franc is going to be the only thing that makes a lot of sense. Let's go ahead and look at some of the currencies I think may be a mover here in the next 24 hours. But first, I want to check in on the cryptos here. So this is the crypto basket. And you can see that the crypto basket is really starting to hit some of these lower levels and really starting to look like it wants to break down. You can see we're just turning down into these lows here, and it's really looking pretty dicey here. If we take a look at Bitcoin, you can see that we've had this support in this area. We did pierce below it briefly. Could that happen again? Yes. If it does happen, you can't buy it. You can't buy it. What you have to do is wait for it to rally, pull back, make a higher low, then you can then buy this breakout point. So until that happens, I just don't think there's any trade in crypto. And here's Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash. You can see everything is breaking down. Nothing looks good on a chart. So for me, I'm just totally uninterested in crypto, really, until it turns around, which might not be for a couple weeks. Let's take a look at some of the Forex things that look interesting. Here is the yen, and the yen is just in free fall. Now, we talked about this over the weekend, and I said, you want to be short yen, but you want to get in on the short-term highs, the short-term rallies. And that's exactly what you've seen this week, is that as it's fallen, there's been these little rallies in here. There's been little rallies. Now look, they don't last long. Here's one here, here's one here, here's one here. And you can see we're getting a little one here. This is where you want to be looking at yen on the short side. But as I said, I'm not too interested in yen over the next 24 hours. I'm interested in Swiss franc over the next 24 hours. Let's take a look at it on a daily chart. You can see it is peeling back. We've got the 13 EMA now crossing lower. So we're really basing here for the last 2 days. And if we take a look at a shorter term chart, this looks just fine here. You can see here, we're basically basing here between these two areas. I think this looks really promising for a breakdown and a run even lower here. So I do like Swiss franc short. However, it's not giving me a great read right here because look at this. Over the last 6 hours, it's gone virtually nowhere. I don't want to get stuck in a trade in candles like this because it takes up time, it eats up capital, and on little moves you get chopped out on a stop. So I want to be trading this when there's movement. I know that there's a likely to be movement at the CPI report that comes out early this morning tonight. So I think this is the trade, but it's got to be after that announcement because we need the energy to come back in. Right now there's no energy. And we've liked the Aussie dollar on the long side, and the Aussie dollar looks absolutely great here. It just looks absolutely fantastic. Let me get rid of this. As you can see here on a daily chart, now just the opposite on Aussie, you want to be a buyer of pullbacks. Anytime it pulls back, you want to be a buyer. If you take a look at the hourly chart, anytime there's been a pullback, you want to be a buyer. Take a look at this. We just had a nice pullback. Look at this candle. I think this thing looks great right here, right now. So these are the currencies I'm looking at. Kiwi is also looking okay. But I think if you're going to trade Kiwi, you may as well trade Aussie because Aussie is looking much, much better. Here's our currency board. We've got the yen in a -3 along with all the cryptos. I'm not interested in yen here. I'm more interested in Swiss franc. And I'm interested in Aussie on the long side. So waiting for that Swiss franc to start moving down and weakening. Right now, there's not a lot of movement. So I think it might be a little early. After that CPI report, I think that the trade to look at is to take a look at that Aussie Swiss franc cross, getting ready for that news event tonight. This is going to be the only trade I'm even looking at for the next 24 hours. So here is Aussie Swiss franc on a daily chart, and you can see it's just been great green candles. Again, this is what you like. Not a lot of pullbacks in this range, and those pullbacks, you want to be buyer on those pullbacks. So if you go to a shorter term chart and you see pullbacks, you are licking your chops. And here is a great looking pullback. What was resistance becomes support. This is just a really good looking pullback here at the moment. If you were to get in here, I don't think you're going to see much activity until the CPI report. You might be up or down 5-10 pips. So I don't see any reason to get in before the announcement because there's really not going to be that big of a move. After the announcement, I'm definitely looking to jump on this. On the long side, as long as we get that price action we like off of that news event. So for me, this is the setup here, and we really have to wait until that announcement comes out. But once we do, I think if you take a look at some trend lines, say, okay, where is this thing likely to go? Well, the answer to that is likely to go, we can draw some projections, possibly up to 60, 75, somewhere in here. I think that is the logical target on this. So that's giving us, basically about a 35, 40 pip gain. That is about 0.6%. That's an acceptable target on a shorter term trade. I always like to be at least 0.5% on a shorter term trade, at least 1% on a longer term trade, just to make sure there's enough meat on the bone for me to take the risk. I'm not out there looking for 10 pip gains or 15 pip gains. I have no desire to try to play that game. I'm looking for the big moves. And, I don't think this is going to be a big move. I think this is going to be a decent trade. I think the best thing that you could do is wait until Friday AM where you're going to have a very good period of energy. I think that is the best thing to do because we are going to get some nice movement off of that employment report coming out of the US and Canada. So be patient, wait for that, and have a good day. Those of you that are based in the US, have a happy 4th of July. Goodbye, everyone.